Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa and Internet World. How we doing on a beautiful Friday? Welcome in. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral at BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Music, on Audible, and of course right there on BamaCentral.com. Hope you guys are having a great day. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us all week long. You can follow us at Joe Gaither6 for all your social media accounts. Send us your comments, questions, queries, and complaints. We've had a good week so far. I appreciate our friend Kendall Hollowell of the NFL Network joining me on Tuesday. We had a great conversation about the quarterbacks in the NFL on Tuesday. And then yesterday we talked with former wide receiver Mac Hereford, who played wide receiver from 2016 to 2019-20, won a national championship. We heard from him really about our wide receivers and kind of what it's like to go through a quarterback battle. Today, I'm very, very happy to welcome in my friend, Mr. Hunter Johnson. You can follow him on Twitter at Burner L. Johnson. He is the Tide Hoops pregame and postgame host. He's all over all things Bama on basketball, baseball, really the Tide Hoops aficionado. And I'm very, very blessed to call him a friend and to welcome him into the program. Hunter, how's your Friday, brother?
Joe, it's going well, man. It feels like it's been such a long time since we've done radio together.
Yeah, it's been a minute. The last time, oh my gosh, had an unfortunate result up there in Louisville. But, It was a great season, basketball season. And, we haven't talked since the end of the academic athletic season. I just want to open up. You love all the sports at the Capstone. And what was your thoughts on really 22 and 23 as it went this past season?
I thought it was very possibly the greatest season in Alabama athletics history. When I was in school, the best thing that we had was 06. And that was mainly the big three, and that you would finally win 10 games. You go to the NCAA tournament in basketball, and you host a super regional in baseball. This definitely exceeded that. Going to a New Year's Six bowl, making the Sweet 16, winning a double in basketball, making a super regional for the first time since 2006. And then you look at the other sports too. A sport that I hold near and dear to my heart is Alabama soccer. Alabama soccer with the greatest season in program history. Golf had a good year. It was just a really, really good overall year. Now, obviously, you would have loved to have won some national championships at that, and now that I'm thinking about it, 2012 was probably better just because 2011, 2012, because you ended up winning 4 national championships. But this is pretty close.
Yeah, it was a great year. Obviously, you have a lot of chatter about, oh my gosh, y'all failed at football and you stink, and you underachieved at basketball.
But that's just the standard now, though. That's the problem when you're held to such a high standard.
100%, and so taking it away really as a 10,000 view from 10,000 feet up, I really think that it was a successful season. But
you finished 12th in the Learfield Cup, which 5th in the SEC, but 12th overall. I think that just shows the strength of the SEC as a whole.
Is it? Stanford wins that. Don't they kind of have an outward advantage of just more sports? Like, come on, how much weight are we kind of? Metric.
They do, and they really kill it on a lot. They kill it on a lot of the smaller sports. It is what it is, but that's why Alabama finishing at such a high level is so impressive, because we don't have all those sports like Stanford does.
Well, I bring you on really to get your thoughts on all the sports, but I want to focus on our favorite sport together, is really basketball. And there was a lot of news. Really, it's the offseason, but still a lot of news this week. 2 major points, and I want to get your thoughts on, we love Devon Quinterly. He transfers out of the program, still yet to be announced where he's headed. And Grant Nelson officially transfers into the program. 2 major roster transitions, Hunter. What do you make of Devon Quinterly? The timing, how do you now receive him as a now his career is complete at Alabama?
I still think I'm probably going to need more time to because I don't want to say anything it really frustrated me when he did it. I still think it's a dumb move. I know that we made a significant commitment to him NIL wise. Maybe he's getting more somewhere else. I don't know. I just know that we went over and beyond to make sure that he was taken care of. And he just decided, I think what frustrates me, and probably what frustrates a lot of Alabama fans, is you go through the whole hoopla of the I'm back image, and then you leave. The whole timing of it, it still doesn't really make sense to me. I think it's a dumb move. I still wish him the best wherever he goes. Like, I'm forever a JQ fan. He's a legend in Alabama basketball. I appreciate all he did. And I mean, and when I take like my personal feelings out of it, he was at Alabama for 4 years and got a degree. That's really all you can ask from a student athlete. Like, I don't think we can really, I think the timing of it is what sucks. The fact that he did do the whole, like, I'm back just seems kind of like a little bit starved for attention. But that said, I'll forever pull for the guy. Wherever he goes, I will be keeping up with him. And I hope that he's always feels welcome back at Alabama, maybe after next year, because this next year he will be competition. But yeah, and I think it caught everybody. I think it caught everybody off guard. I don't think anybody was expecting this. There was some chatter, I guess, probably back in April and May that he might be leaving, but it seemed like we had we'd smoothed all that over, that everything was good, and then boom, he's gone. So now you look at it, you don't really have a true point guard. You were banking on JQ being that guy, and now you're going to have a couple of combo guards in Aaron Estrada and Mark Sears, who are going to have to fill that void, provided that Alabama doesn't go and get somebody out of the portal, which is still very possible. But it just leaves you in a hole roster-wise. But I think that we have a good enough. We're probably going to talk about this in a second. The other pieces around that are good enough for this to be a very, very good basketball team.
Absolutely. And I want to open you right up to your thoughts on Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson looks every bit the part in his highlight film, but then I look at who he's playing in some of his highlight films, and it looks like guys like my athleticism. And we know, full disclosure, I'm not very athletic. So Grant looks the part, just 6'11". Oh my gosh, can shoot, can handle the ball. How do you see him transitioning to a much more difficult league?
Well, I mean, he was doing it against high-level competition. A lot of the highlights that we've seen have been of them playing in their conference schedule. But, I mean, he did pretty dadgum good. He had 17 against Arkansas. He had, 11 against Kansas. I mean, so it's not like he wasn't doing against high-level competition. I'm really, really excited. I think he's the perfect fit for this program. I thought that it was really a slam dunk that he should come here. And I saw an interview with his parents this morning where they were talking about how, like, they just really felt like this was the right fit for him, both culturally and basketball wise. And I think it really shows what Nate Oats has built here, and that they were one of the keys about having guys like Noah Clowney. Yeah. We started talking about this probably halfway through the year last year, because we're like, dadgum, he's going to get so good that he's going to leave. But the benefit of that is that guys like Grant Nelson see that Clowney could come in here for 1 year, and then he's a first-round pick. That's exactly what Nate and the staff were pushing on Grant Nelson, telling him that you can be the Noah Clowney in this offense and then move on and that's what he wants. He's coming here to make it to the pros. I'm sure he's going to be going to class. I don't really think he's a little concerned about a degree. He's coming here to make the NBA, and that's what we pushed on him. They sold him on it. And I mean, with his ability, he's got a good handle for 6'11". You can really run him. I mean, he's a better ball handler than Clowney. A really, really good rebounder. I was looking at his not even for this. I just randomly was looking at it this morning. He's one of the top rebounders in the country defensively. Would love to see him pick it up on the offensive end a little bit. Did not shoot as well from three last year as he did his first 2 seasons. He was 25% last year. His first 2 seasons, he was up in the 30s. Would love to see him get back to that. But I think that also could be a factor of him having to shoulder a little bit more of the burden offensively from North Dakota State last year. I'm very, very, very excited about having him. He seems like, there's always, we talk about this I think we talked about it on the Bama Hoots pregame show presented by Christopher Mobley, of course. We've talked about how, like, there's always, if the other team has a white guy, you just kind of always hate that white guy. Grant Nelson is going to be so hated by opposing fan bases. Arkansas fans already hate him because it came down to Alabama and Arkansas, and he chose Alabama. I hear that size of coach might have been an issue there with us being so short. It's really a shame to see Eric Musselman come up short yet again to the university. That's three times this year. But yeah, they already hate him. I'm sure Auburn fans are going to hate him. So it's going to be. I'm really, really excited about having him and pairing him with the guy I imagine we're about to talk about next.
Yeah, Latrobe Wrightsell, Aaron Estrada, those kinds of. I really want to kind of focus the next portion on Nate Oats' acquisition and utilizing the portal, and just how he's. Oh my gosh, we didn't expect to lose Bediako, and you have Clowney becomes a surprise first round pick, and okay, you got to manage that. Now we've got two extra spots, and he appears to be going out to West Virginia and bringing some guys in, or bringing some guys in to visit at least. Nate Oats just a freaking mastermind and just a wheeler and dealer. It's like, okay, I'm in a corner here. I can pivot and move, and getting Jaron Stevenson. I am just impressed with his ability to roster manage.
That's what I was about to say. More so than portal, I think it's more roster management, in that you're able to. I mean, the key to that would be getting a guy like Jaron Stevenson, who was not even going to be in this class, and getting him to reclassify and come in and be able to play right away. I was listening to a podcast, the Goodman and Hummel podcast, this morning on the way to the office, and they had Scott Drew and a couple of other head coaches on, and they were talking about how hard being a college basketball coach is these days, because it used to be that you would finish up in May, April, you might have a couple transfers, but then that was kind of like when you you did a little bit of recruiting. May was kind of when you like recharged, like you rested. There's no rest anymore. They're always. I mean, Nate's going all over the place right now recruiting, as is the rest of the staff. It's always something. I mean, and even in a weird situation like this, Nate has a new open spot come up in late June with JQ leaving. But I thought it was a great job of roster management. I thought that, Latrell Whiteside, I like him a lot. I really like Aaron Estrada. I've heard really good things out of him from pickup games this summer. I think he could end up, very possibly starting. The thing is, we brought in a lot of guys who were willing to buy in and weren't coming in expecting necessarily to start. They weren't coming in. We weren't guaranteeing them starting spots, because you look at if we had JQ come back, you were going to have JQ, Mark, Ryland, Grant Nelson, and then either Nick Pringle or possibly Jaron Stevenson. So those guys probably weren't going to. Aaron Estrada might now. Heck, Whitesell could too. I don't know. But like, it shows that those guys are willing to buy in to what the program was selling. And it's just a phenomenal job by Nate of being able to, and he ain't done yet. I mean, I still think it's very possible that we could get, the point guard from West Virginia. I don't know. I mean, if you look at him statistically, it's not great, but you would still like to have another ball handler. And you wouldn't really mind having another big. I think with JQ leaving, everybody immediately thinks, oh, we need ball handling. But if you look at our big situation, you've got Nick, Grant, Jaron. It's kind of it. You don't really have a lot. I mean, you got the freshmen coming in. Like Sam Walters is a guy I'm looking forward to seeing. But you don't have a ton of depth there. If one guy goes down, you could be in a tough spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just been amazed watching Nate pivot all summer long, and really, I think right now we have a roster that I know a lot of people think are fourth, fifth, sixth in the league, but I think once you get them together and gel, we've seen Nate Oats kind of get the most out of a group of players in the past.
In addition to that, it's also kind of speaks to the just how different things are in college basketball. It used to be that you would use all 13 of your scholarships, but a lot of times you were bringing in guys that you knew like were going to be a project. You don't really see that anymore. You're putting together, like, we're going to have 13 of the best players assembled. And yeah, probably only 9 or 10 of them, 11 of them are going to play, but we're going to at least get the best guys that we can together. And then we'll let the cream rise to the top.
Hunter, two more things before we get you out of here, and I really appreciate your time on a Friday. We're talking to Hunter Johnson. Follow him on the Twitter machine at Burner L. Johnson if you're the one person in the world who's not. I want to get your opinion on the cruddy ACC-SEC challenge matchup that they dished Alabama. They gave us Clemson. What the hell were they thinking? And I was upset on Tuesday when it came out. Was I wrong to be upset?
I don't think you were wrong. I thought, obviously these things are like, they're thinking through this for future years as well. And now, if I'm Alabama, I don't know that I'm necessarily that upset by not getting a really top tier team, because you look at what the rest of the schedule looks like, it's already really, really tough. Glad that we're going to get a home game. I don't know that Nate is very upset by it, but it did kind of seem to miss out on the excitement of like an Arkansas being able to get Duke. I thought that they really missed on some matchups that could have been really good. Like, why didn't Auburn play in Virginia? Like, the rematch of the Final Four. Like, that seems like just like way too easy. Why isn't Texas A&M playing Virginia Tech, where
Buzz Williams,
where Buzz Williams used to coach? Seems like there were some slammed up matchups that they didn't do. I'm also what I'm most upset about this is that we play at 8:30 on a weeknight. It's too late. I want to play a post game show. We won't start till 11. I'm probably just not going to do it. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be live from Innisfree at 6:30 that night. And yeah, I don't like the late start times. I cannot stress that enough. At least it's not 9 o'clock like that Houston game was a couple years ago. But yeah, that was what I was most upset about, was when I saw the game time, which shows how old I'm getting. And that in college, I would thought that was awesome. And now
drink all night.
That's too late. Yeah, it's too late.
Well, last thing, and I love you, Hunter. I thank you so much. What do you know about Barrett Sallee? Barrett Sallee tweeted today that Guthrie's is now the official chicken partner of the University of Alabama. I thought we were a Chick-fil-A university, or what's going on with Guthrie's? They got to expand past 15th Street? What do we know about that?
There's Guthrie's all over the state. I like Guthrie's. I don't mean to like diss Guthrie's here. I just don't. I'm not a big I don't go to like the chain chicken restaurants and just order a bunch of chicken fingers and sauce. It's just not really. I mean, if I did, I'd probably way more than I already do. But I will say this about Guthrie's: when I was in high school, a couple of my buddies worked at that one on 15th Street, and man, I just never paid. Like, I would go through the drive-thru and they would just pile it up. I mean, it's a statute of limitations is up now. Just pile it on. And so, after they stopped working there, I guess after sophomore year of college, I'd never go back, because I got so used to eating there for free. It's kind of like Domino's. When I was in school, we had Domino's dining dollars. So I ate Domino's all the freaking time. But then after I got out of school, I'm like, I don't want Domino's anymore. It's not the same when I'm having to pay actual cash for this transaction. But I like that we're getting some local flavor in terms of our sponsorships. You got Kaneka. And now Guthrie's, yeah. I think that's cool. It's not bland like maybe a Zach. I don't want to diss any potential sponsors. So I'm not going anywhere else with that. Yeah, we're happy.
I just thought that was a funny story.
Happy to have Guthrie's on board, but if Fuzakli's or Zaxby's or any of the other ones want to sponsor the Tide Hoots pregame show, I will shill for some chicken out of that. So.
There you go. Well, Hunter, thank you so much for hanging out with us. First time on the new program. We hope to do it again soon. I hear you have a great summer ahead of you, and I hope that you have a great time doing it. Hopefully, we'll catch up before the Tide kicks off against MTSU. 64 days away? Hunter, have a great day.
Days. All right, man. Thanks, Joe. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide. That's Hunter Johnson hanging out with us. I really, really appreciate all his time. He, only had a short window for us today, and I really appreciate, I tried to get into the most interesting topics that we could with him. Okay, so now, I'm not going to leave you with a 17-minute show. That's unprofessional and unfair to you, the listener. I appreciate everybody who's hung out with us so far. Miss Julene, I see you on the Facebook comment side of things. You guys can jump in and comment if you'd like to on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Leave us a note right there, or listen on Spotify, Apple Music, or on Audible. So here's what I want to go to. I want to go to, we already heard that kind of had Hunter's year in review, and I do agree with him. It was a very strong athletic year. No national championships, but just overall high-level competitiveness in every sport. We were there really hanging around at the top of the standings, at the top of the rankings in every sport. And so it was a highly enjoyable year for me covering the university, and hopefully it was a highly enjoyable year for you as the fans. All right, so what I want to get into next is gambling, because I think we've got a real problem. I think you have a real problem. And yes, it's not a highly specific to Alabama topic, but it will affect Alabama one day. And it has affected some Alabama football players in the NFL already. We remember last year, Calvin Ridley was suspended an entire season because he wagered a $1,500 wager on a 16-17 parlay. For those of you who are unfamiliar with gambling, the likelihood of that pulling off is very, very low. Very, very, very low for Calvin Ridley. So he was basically hitting a long shot, kind of seemed like let's just see if this happens or not. Okay, so Calvin Ridley gets suspended for an entire year. We all know Jamison Williams now, 6 months later, gets suspended for 6 games with the Detroit Lions. Why? He was gambling in a team facility. He wasn't gambling on an NFL game, but he placed wagers in a team facility. So the NFL has now suspended a couple of Indianapolis Colts players and a couple of Tennessee Titans players for the entire year for other gambling violations. One of the Colts players basically come out and says, one of the Colts players put a heavy wager on basically on an over/under. Demetrius Taylor. Yes, Demetrius Taylor placed a wager on an over/under. Basically, he utilized insider information to score a huge gap. Okay, so a source told ESPN that friends of Rodgers who were in Florida encouraged him to place many of the wagers. The majority were on the $25 to $50 range. Look, that's the range that I'm gambling in if I'm gambling. Here, $25 on a game. We don't want to get too out of control now. Legal sports betting was not available in Florida this past football season. The largest wager placed through the account, though, was a $1,000 prop bet on the over/under on the rushing yards by a Colts running back, which won. So Rodgers knew kind of the Colts game plan and was able to place a wager on the certain running back to basically rush for a certain amount of yards, and he did that. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because this is permeating culture all over the place. And here, look, I am not one to say, oh, the games are rigged, the games are fixed, the games are, swayed one way or the other. I absolutely abhor the talk of, oh, the refs are paid, these refs are paid, they're paid against us. I abhor it, honestly. It makes me feel like, oh, you cheap losers, oh, you sad losers. Look, I walked away from this past year's Tennessee game, and I know 18 penalties against the Tide. You had a couple of terrible penalties against the Tide. The pass interference at the end that would have basically sealed the deal on the interception. I'm not here to talk about rigged games or not. I don't think that games are rigged that way. But when you have gambling, when you have this much money at stake, when you have these many hands in the cookie jar, this much pull. I mean, it's one thing to pull aside a point guard and say, hey, man, will you miss some free throws and shave some points? That's one thing in basketball. And it's one thing you can get a hold of a referee in basketball. We remember the official who was basically involved with the mob a handful of years ago. You can get an official to influence a game. But for a football game, it's much harder. It's much difficult. There's 22 guys out there. Everybody's motivated. Everybody's trying to adhere to their own play. They're trying to do what their own coaches tell you. And then you've got coaches trying to win for their own legacy. And then you got officials trying to make good calls. So I think, look, football is so much harder to fix, in my opinion. But man, with so many gambling stories at play, with so much going on. Okay, I asked a buddy yesterday, look, if you guys paid attention to the NBA draft, if you listened to this program, you heard about this, 2 weeks ago, Brandon Miller was slotted, okay, for sure, he's going to go number 2 overall. He's promised to go number 2. Everybody knows. So a lot of people wagered he's going to go number 2 overall, and a lot of people won off that. Great. On the day of the draft, a very prominent reporter, Shams Charania, he's very, very popular. He's got thousands of followers on Twitter. He's got huge credibility. He goes out there and says, I'm hearing reports that Scoot Henderson is going to go number 2. He's going to get drafted number 2 overall, not Brandon Miller. And so, people trust Shams Charania. People trust his reporting and think that, okay, he's a credible reporter. But Shams Charania is employed by or has a partnership with FanDuel, which is a sports betting application, which is a sports betting website, sports betting company. And so people go onto FanDuel and they wager for Scoot Henderson to be drafted number 2 overall. And then when Brandon Miller inevitably gets drafted number 2 overall, all those people lose. So is Shams Charania a part of an insider trading scheme that basically defrauded a bunch of these NBA fans? And so here's my thing. It's like these are tips of the iceberg. These are small portions. These are just small stories. You're seeing this Colts running back, gambling on an over-under. Yeah, he cashed in. He won $1,000. $1,000 is not that big a deal for a casino. It's not that big a deal for a sports book. It's not that big a deal for you or I. Sure, $1,000 is a couple paychecks, but ultimately not a huge amount of money. So he didn't go break the system. This Colts running back. And Calvin Ridley didn't go break the system with his $1,500 7-team parlay. But what's to prevent these college students with NIL, with it's being so prominent? Sports gambling is legal, I think, in 27 states. How many states is sports betting legal? Yes, perfect. 37. Okay, I thought it was 22. It's 37. There's 37 states where it's legal. And so you got to think 37 states, and even when it wasn't legal, I'll just be honest, it's not legal here in Alabama, but no FBI watches this program. 10, 15 years ago when I was, a young buck, I wagered with my friends all the time. You knew you can place a wager if you want to. You can gamble if you want to. It's just makes me apprehensive with all the money at play. And I love the athletes getting paid. I love athletes being in power and really in control of everything because they are the labor. Without the athletes, there is no product to watch. Yeah, you could watch me play quarterback for the Crimson Tide, but people would turn that off in about 2 seconds because it would be a horrible, unwatchable product. You got kids taking a snap and falling right over, getting sacked, getting stepped on by a center. It wouldn't be good. These guys earn their money. These guys are worth all the money that's at stake here. I just worry about how much we're partnering with the industry that is sports gambling. And here, I love sports gambling as an entity. It's very entertaining to watch. It's very entertaining for me to pay attention to. It really helps a lot of ways, just kind of helps shape my opinions on what's going to happen in a lot of ways. Look, you heard Coach Saban. If we would have been favored by over 3 of the 4 teams in the college football playoff, why weren't we in? Alabama would have been favored in Las Vegas over Michigan and TCU, and probably Ohio State as well last year. Look, those guys in the desert, they know what they're talking about. I just worry the partnership level that we're getting, especially when you're receiving, you're getting NIL bonuses and you're getting just all kinds of. It's seeping into sports journalism. A lot, you get a lot of podcasts that are sponsored by DraftKings, sponsored by FanDuel, sponsored by, Caesar Sportsbook. If Pearl River Resort wants to sponsor me, I would love to be a part of your sponsor, part of your package. I love sports gambling. I just worry about how much it's influencing the results that we are seeing on the field each and every week. And so that's where really what's got me kind of brainstorming and concerned over that. So look, here's the NCAA due to all this. We're going to keep this rolling with some actual information. Due to all the concern about gambling, I'm not the only one. The NCAA amended and updated punishments for athletes who violate gambling rules. And here are a couple of new punishments. Student athletes who are found to engage in activities to influence the outcome of games they're involved in or provide information to individuals involved in betting will face a potential permanent loss of college eligibility. The guideline applies to student athletes who bet on their own games or other sports at their own school. And look, you have to have that in place. You absolutely have to, because you cannot have kids influencing games. You cannot have kids point shaving. And the other thing, you cannot have these athletes calling their basketball buddies saying, hey, who's going to win tonight? Hey, what are you going to do tonight? Like, this insider information is probably the most dangerous part of this, is because these Alabama athletes, I think these Alabama athletes are at least on a cordial level with one another. And so if you want to know if Johnny's really hurt or if Sarah's really hurt or who's going to be running in the 4x4, if you want to know kind of information ahead of time, I think these athletes can get it. So the NCAA has to implement. And you have to threaten their loss of permanent eligibility. There's no coming back from somebody who would taint the integrity of the game in that fashion. All right, number two. Student athletes who bet on their own sport but not involving their school are subject to a potential loss of 50% of one season. All right, so if I'm going to gamble on, if I'm a football player at Alabama and I'm going to gamble on the SEC, the other SEC games that week, I'm up to I'm risking one season, one half season of eligibility. So I am risking what 6 games. I'm risking six games of an opportunity to play for the Crimson Tide. 6 games of an opportunity to play on ESPN, on CBS, on ABC, on all the family of networks, on national television, where people will see you and where draft scouts will see you. I don't know if that's really worth it, man. Stay off the gamble. Don't gamble on your own sport. The best advice is to not gamble. All right, number 3, for all other wagering related violations, the cumulative dollar value of the wagers will be taken into consideration when determining the punishment. Bets totaling $201 to $500 could result in a loss of 10% of a season of eligibility, plus rules and prevention education. Bets totaling more than $800 could result in a loss of 30% of a season of eligibility, plus rules and prevention education. Look, man, it ain't worth it. For $800. You're going to lose 30% of your eligibility for a year. It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. Look, I know these athletes. It seems like it might be a quick way to gain a quick buck. And it is fun. Look, I'll be honest, it is fun to wager a time or two. I love the football season for that reason, but you have to be responsible. You have to be careful. And I have no influence no influence on any wager or any games. So I feel like I have a little bit easier position to make those wagers. I just encourage everybody to gamble responsibly, and I encourage everybody to be cautious because I think we're going to be seeing more and more stories where convoluted information comes out, where conflicts of interest arise, where athletes come out and maybe they've made wagers or they've told their friends. I think the Brad Bohannon situation and story is going to be, unfortunately, more and more commonplace. The NFL also updated their gambling rules and outcomes and basically boiled it down to 6 straight rules. 1, don't bet on the NFL. 2, don't gamble at your team's facility while traveling for a road game or staying at a team hotel. Number 3, don't have someone bet for you. Number 4, don't share team inside information. Number 5, don't enter a sports book during an NFL playing season. And number 6, don't play daily fantasy football. I think those are all great rules and great guidelines. And so, look, this is just an issue that people are going to see more and more as gambling becomes more prevalent. Legal in 37 states now. It's going to be legal in 50 states before probably 10 years, I would say. Maybe 20 years. But it will be more legal and more accessible than not as we continue to go on. So I think it's something that we all have to kind of watch out for. All right, let's put a pin in the gambling talk. Let's put a pin in the gambling talk real quick. Let me catch a sip of water and pivot.
Hey, everybody. Happy June.
Oh, my gosh. It's the last day of June, isn't it, Andrew Luck?
Hey, everybody. Happy June. Hey, everybody. Happy June.
Oh, man. All right, so we got to figure out a new sound or a new kind of pause break for next month, and we will do that over the weekend. And any suggestions you can drop in the social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Joe Gaither 6 if you want to drop in any sound or suggestions for the show. Let's pivot to transfer portal. Transfer portal is a little bit interesting for me because yesterday, the NCAA Division I Council proposed changes to the transfer portal windows that will reduce the total number of days a student athlete can enter the transfer portal from 60 down to 30. Okay, I think that we are starting to have a little bit of a problem with the transfer portal, and I know a lot of people hate it. I do love it. I do love the flexibility that it's given athletes. I believe that the transfer portal has been improved upon year after year, and I believe they improved upon it last season when they put in restrictions about transfer portal windows. They put the windows in last season, and I loved that. They also put in restrictions about first-time transfers, that sort of thing. I really, really loved last year's really adaptations or morphings of the transfer portal. This year, it looks like they're considering a little bit more trimming or changing of the transfer portal, not closing it, not getting rid of it, but they want to shorten the window. And I think that's very, very good because, look, I don't think that you should go in the transfer portal and be shopping for schools. I think that you should go into the transfer portal and know a little bit where you want to go. If look, I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. If I am here in Tuscaloosa at Alabama, competing, and maybe I'm at the bottom of the depth chart, or maybe I'm not getting along with my coaches, or maybe the academics are not sitting well with me, or for whatever reason, for whatever reason, I say, okay, I'm going to go in the transfer portal. I need to have an idea of, okay, I'm going to consider UTC. I'm going to consider Chattanooga because that's my home. I'm going to consider, X, Y, and Z. 3 schools. Bam, bam, bam. And these are my 3 schools. And why do I know these 3 schools? Because maybe these 3 coaches or these 3 programs recruited me in the past, or have coaches who have departed my original school who I loved. You want to follow your coach, your position coach somewhere? I think that's fine. I really think these transfer portal window needs to. I love the concept. The concept was needed, absolutely needed, because of a lot of what you heard Hunter Johnson talk about. These coaches get no time off. These coaches have zero time to relax to themselves. Coach Saban took a little bit of time in Italy, and that was like a week, and that was like his first vacation in ages. So I think these windows need to be shortened so that these coaches can manage their rosters easier. You don't get these, I'm going to the portal, I'm going back out, I'm going to the portal, I'm going back in, that sort of thing. I think these players, these athletes, look, I'm a fan of the college football. I'm a fan of the transfer portal really for every sport. But I think that if I'm going to hit the transfer portal in basketball, in baseball, in football, whatever the case may be, I think that you should have some sort of inkling. And you don't need 60 days. You don't need 2 months to figure it out. You should go ahead, go visit a couple of schools. Go visit school X, Y, and Z. In my case, go visit UTC. Go visit, Jacksonville State up there close in the Gadsden area. Go visit, schools back in the Chattanooga area. That's fine. Be a man, be a woman, be an adult, and make a decision in a quick fashion. And not quick, but a timely fashion. 45 days. 45 days is plenty of time to figure out if you're going to oh, man. Oh, thank you, Julian. I appreciate your comment. Chris Walsh talking about our staff. Yes, I appreciate that. Chris is the man. Chris is awesome. You can probably listen to him on, I guess his radio segment is probably on Tide 109 right now, if I had to guess. Chris is awesome. We had a great staff meeting yesterday. It was awesome to meet all the people officially part of BamaCentral. I got my brand new BamaCentral polo, and I really appreciate that. Rocking the BamaCentral polo. Big thanks to Chris Walsh. And yeah, so that's my thoughts. I think it's a great thing that they're amending the transfer portal again. I think it's a great thing that they are cutting down the windows, because you should be able to make decisions in a timely fashion. You shouldn't have to hold these college programs should not be held hostage all summer long or all spring long due to, when's Johnny going to make his decision? Is he going to go choose us, or is he going to choose them? I think that I think that the NCAA is taking a good step with the transfer portal. Okay, anything else I got on my radar sheet today? I have, let's see, on my open tabs, anything else on my radar sheet? KJ Bolden is on my sheet. All right, so just a little bit of recruiting news. We got Alabama got the commitment of Isaiah Fega on Wednesday. We didn't talk about it with Mac Hereford because that's not his area of expertise. But Isaiah Fega out of Clay Chalkville High School. Is that what I saw? Yeah. He's No, Central Phoenix City. I'm sorry. No, Dylan Mbakwe is Clay Chalkville. Isaiah Fega from Central Phoenix City took the Central Phoenix City Red Devils, that's right, to the Class 7A semifinals last season. What I saw on tape with Isaiah Fega, he was a Utah commit. All right, he's got a Samoan background. Okay, you see the Utah connection right there. But he's from Alabama, and we all know, let's just be honest about it, Samoan defensive linemen have a tendency and have a reputation of being nasty. Well, I see that. I see that on tape when I look at Isaiah Fega. I see him with a quick first step off the line. Now, clearly, he's going into his senior year. He's got room to develop. He's going to develop further. But I believe that Isaiah Fega has a very quick first step for a high schooler. I was impressed with him. Now, granted, I'm only watching highlight tapes. I'd love to see him more. I'd love to see a more complete game tape to see how he does snap in and snap out. But he gets a lot of pressure in his highlight tapes. He's very quick off the ball, as I said, with his quick first step. And I think he has a violent punch. So Isaiah Fega obviously was a huge priority for the Alabama Crimson Tide recruiting class. He joins Jeremiah Beeman as the second defensive lineman in the recruiting class so far. Alabama now up to 9 commitments in the 2024 class. And so what are we looking at next? Alabama, you've got a lot of guys who have Alabama on the tip of their tongue, have a lot of guys who are right there ready to sign. Well, not sign yet. They'll sign in December and in February, but are right there ready to commit to the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think you're going to see Alabama pick up a cornerback commitment on Saturday, Jameer Grimsley. I think you're going to see them add Jameer Grimsley, cornerback out of Tampa, Florida, as the 10th member of the class. And he's really going to be the second corner. He and Jalen Mbakwe will make the 2 corners in this class so far. Obviously, you got to wait and see if the commitment will hold strong. But I really do think that you're going to get, what's up, CJ Watson on the Facebook machine. I really do think that you're going to get Jameer Grimsley added to the class tomorrow. Now, I think you're going to get, look, KJ Bolden is that diamond. Oh, boy. We want to talk about Caleb Downs last year. KJ Bolden is that dude. KJ Bolden is the number 1 safety in the country right out of Buford, Georgia. Look, Buford to the college football rankings has turned into a just college football pipeline. And we know this with our man Justice Haynes. And we've got, Jake Pope is from Buford as well. Isaiah Bond, I believe, is from Buford as well. So, look, great pipeline coming from Buford to college football. We'd love to get another KJ Bolden. He looks the part. KJ Bolden told On3 Sports this past week that he had a great visit to the University of Alabama. I'm going to venture to have him on, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next week. Oh, I almost have my next week's plans already set going into the weekend. Oh, that is such a great feeling. Thank you, Friday. Thank you, Lord. But no, KJ Bolden is that diamond in the rough, and I think that, look, he told On3 Sports he's down to his final 3. He's got Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia basically playing as his final 3. Lots of people thinking Ohio State kind of has his lead, but Jalen Mbakwe has been in his ear. I think KJ Bolden is a really good candidate to commit to Alabama pretty soon. I think and really you add him as a 5-star, the number 1 safety in the class. Ooh, you're going to jump up those rankings. So everybody who's concerned, who sees Alabama's recruiting class ranking at 24 or 26 or 29, in those mid-20s, I say don't worry. Don't worry. Nick Saban is about to go and do what Nick Saban always does. And I'm really looking forward to this next month. Yes, we're in the NCAA mandated dead period until the end of the month, until the end of July. July 24 is the final day of the dead period. So the guys cannot come back onto campus for in-person visits, and Coach Saban cannot go out on the road and do in-person visits, but they can still communicate via phone, via text, via FaceTime, via Twitter, social media, that sort of thing. So Alabama's still going to be working very, very hard on the recruiting front. And I think you're going to see Alabama add to the recruiting class over the weekend with Mr. Jameer Grimsley. Jameer Grimsley out of Tampa, Florida. Jameer Grimsley, a 4-star recruit, just a little bit about him. 4-star recruit. He's a 2-way player, plays wide receiver and corner for his school down in Tampa. And so he's got a lot of speed. He's a track athlete as well, 10-1, 100-meter dash. So we love that. We love the athletic traits. And we know Coach Saban loves his cornerbacks, so he's going to be always looking for the best and the brightest and the defensive backfield. All right, so what else? Come on, it's a Friday. We're having fun on a Friday. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us on the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube side of things. Everybody who's listened to us on Spotify, Apple Music, and on Audible. You guys can tell a friend about the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Get them to download, rate, review, and subscribe. Put in those 5 stars and send me a comment, question, query, or complaint right there to my social medias at Joe Gaither 6. Okay, I think I'm about done, but on a personal note, we got into a little Gaither adventure here at the household. We want to thank God for dropping this little cutie in our lap. We have added a dog for the podcast audience. You'll have to check it out on the YouTube side of things. We've added a dog to the Gaither household. We're going to call her Abby. It has been quite a transition to the household with the cat Bruce. They've had a couple of dust ups, but it has been a lot of fun so far. And so that's what's going to occupy my time all weekend long, is really keeping up with recruiting believe that's what we do here on Bama Central. And I'm going to be rearing a puppy, Miss Abby. We're going to try to get her acclimated to the house and try to get her trained a little bit. So far, everything has been very, very good. Sweet puppy. And I really appreciate Miss Kristen for looking out for me on Miss Abby, trying to hook me up with a great puppy. What are we going to do next week? We'll set you up with next week, and then we'll get you out of here for the weekend. For everybody on the Joe Gaither Show, next week, I think I've already got pretty much the week planned. I'm going to be joined on Monday. Got to make sure he's going to be ready for it when we've already talked about it, but always confirm 24 hours ahead of time. I believe I'm going to be joined by Monday by Mr. Cruz Oxenrider of Barstool Sports. Cruz is a Bama graduate and works for Barstool Sports. He manages a lot of the Southeastern social media accounts for Barstool Sports, and so we will look forward to having Mr. Cruz Oxenrider on the program to talk all things Alabama sports. He'll bring it to us in his own Barstool flavorful way on Monday. On Tuesday, I'm going to be talking to Caden Jones. Yes, we'll continue our recruiting series. I am so sorry we could not get a recruit on this week. We talked to several of them and just wasn't able to work it out. But on Tuesday, I've got a commitment from Caden Jones, an Alabama linebacker, 2024 four-star commit. He's a North Carolina linebacker committed to Alabama already. He is one of the 9 members of Alabama's 2024 class. So Caden Jones will join me on Tuesday to talk about his recruitment, why he chose Alabama, what he wants to do his senior year, and we want to get to know Caden Jones on Tuesday. Tell a friend that we'll have him join the program on Tuesday at 1 p.m. And I'm going to reach out. I've already reached out. We've already had preliminary talks with my friend Giles Amos. Giles Amos, former tight end for the University of Alabama, right here in the Nick Saban era, just left Alabama pretty recently, played his final season at Arkansas State. So we're going to catch up with Giles Amos hopefully next week as well. And I'd love to find out what he thinks about the tight ends in this Alabama room right now. Amari Niblack, CJ Dupree. Oh, wow. Alabama tight ends, I think, are going to be very, 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 I think they're going to get a lot of usage this coming up season. I think they're underrated right now, and they're going to be a heavy part of the offense. So we'll look forward to hearing, hopefully, from Giles Amos next week as well. So that's going to do it for our week. Wow, we want to thank Chris Walsh. Make sure you follow him at Writing Walsh on the Twitter machine. Tell him that you love all things Bama Central. Follow Bama Central at Bama Central. Listen to our other Bama Central podcast, All Things Bama, with Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon. We've got Blue Collar Unplugged with Matthew Gibson, Jacob Pickle, and Blake Byler. So make sure you check out those other 2 Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcasts. You can follow me once again at Joe Gaither 6, and we appreciate everybody who's participated in the show. We'll catch up with you on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend, a beautiful weekend right here from the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central.